Okay, so we're going to go over the Chapter 9 review worksheet that you all have. And this will cover all of the types of problems that will be on your Chapter 9 test on Thursday. So we're going to do 5 or 6 or 7 problems here together, and then the rest of the worksheet is homework for you. So I'm going to do a few of these problems with you, and then the rest of it is homework due Thursday before your test. Okay, so we're going to start with number 1. So everybody get to number 1. Number 1 is 8x squared y over 48x. Now, this is one term on the top over one term on the bottom. And I'm going to write in blue because it's different color than black, so it'll be easier for you to see. So since this is all one term, and this is all one term, which means there's no plus something else or minus something else on the bottom or on the top, this is the only term. 8x squared y is the term, and then 48x is the only term on the bottom. So that means that we can't take out any greatest common factors. We can't do any factoring in one of those ways that we know how to factor. We just have to cancel out because it's already pretty simplified. So we're going to cancel out things on the top that are the same as on the bottom. So we're going to start with the 8 over 48, and we can divide both of those by a multiple. We could divide them both by 2, we could divide them both by 4, we could divide them both by 8. So we want to divide by the biggest thing that we can, so we're going to divide 8 by 8 and we're going to get 1. We're going to divide 48 by 8 and we're going to get 6. Okay? And then we have x squared. We're looking at the x's now. We have x squared and x. There's 2 x's on the top and 1 x on the bottom. So we're going to cancel out 1 x total because that's all we can cancel. And then there's nothing that the y can cancel with. So that's all we can simplify. So we're going to rewrite it as on the top we have a 1, but we don't need to write the 1 down. It's the same with or without the 1 in front. And then we have an x left, and we have a y left. And then on the bottom, we don't have any x's or y's left. All we have is our 6. Don't forget your 6. Okay, so now we're looking at this fraction, and nothing else can be simplified, so that is your final answer. So feel free to write that down as your final answer for number 1. Okay. Feel free to pause, rewind, slow me down whenever you need to. I'm sorry I'm not available in person to answer your questions, but just a reminder that we have office hours, Mrs. Horker and I do, so you can just email us at any time about our 1:30 office hours, and then we'll meet you on Google Hangouts at that time. Okay, so I'm going to move on to number 4. That's the next one we're going to do together, so you can pull up number 4. Number 4 is going to take up a lot of room, so maybe I'll do it in a different color. Maybe I'll do it in purple this time. All right, so number 4 on the top, you can see it has 3 terms. 1, 2, 3 terms. Okay, and the bottom is the same. 1, 2, 3 terms. The first thing we always look for is a GCF, a greatest common factor that we can pull out. But since they're on the top, 4, 20, and 25, those don't have a number that goes into all of them. So the top we cannot simplify with the greatest common factor. And then the same thing with the bottom. 2, -9, and -35, there's nothing we can pull out of all of those. So we have to, from there, come up with our next form of factoring. And since it's 3 terms, we're going to do you're right, T-chart. This is a T-chart. We're going to do a T-chart from the top and a T-chart on the bottom. Okay, so we're going to come over here and we're going to do our T-chart for the top. Our T-chart for the top is, remember, our A, B, and our C. So our T-chart is A times C, so A, C. Our T-chart is 4 times 25, which is 100. Okay, and then our B is 20. So we need a number that adds up to 100, 2 numbers that multiply to 100 and add up to 20. Okay, so please pause this video right now and use your calculators or your phone to find numbers that multiply to 100 or add up to 20. Okay, and then when you get it figured out, please continue playing the video. All right, so we came up with 10 times 10 to equal 100, or 10 plus 10 to equal 20. Okay? I accidentally made this line too long, so no. Okay, so we're just going to go from here. So we're going to do our T-chart for our next, for our bottom term, 2x squared minus 9x minus 35. Our a is 2 and our c is negative 35, so we get negative 70. And then we have a negative 9 over here. Okay, so you can pause the video and think about two numbers that multiply to negative 70 and add up to negative 9, and just remember that they need to be, one needs to be positive and one needs to be negative. Okay, so I have, what numbers is it? It's going to be 5. Is it 5? Let me do the math too. Okay, it is 5. It is 5 and negative 14. So did you guys get that? 5 minus 14 is going to give you negative 9. Okay, so now we need to rewrite our fraction as something. So we're going to rewrite our top fraction as 4x squared plus, so we're going to go look up here, plus 10x plus 10x plus 25. And we are going to rewrite our bottom fraction. Actually, let's not rewrite our bottom fraction yet. Let's just simplify this one. Okay, this is our top fraction. And we are going to take out 2 and get 2x. Oh, we need to take out a 2x. Okay, and we get 2x plus 5 on the inside. And then over here in our second one, we're going to take out a 5, and we'll get 2x plus 5. Okay, so our top becomes 2x plus 5 and 2x plus 5. Okay, now, see, this is what I was talking about. I need a lot of room for this one. You guys might want to start working on a separate sheet of paper because all of these are going to take a lot of room. Okay, so then over here, we're going to do the bottom fraction. So remember our T-chart, 5 and negative 14. So we're going to look at our denominator, and we're going to change our denominator to 2x squared minus, what are our numbers again? 5 and 14, negative 14. So plus 5x minus 14x minus 35. All right, so we're going to break that down. You are welcome to pause the video and try this on your own and see if you get the same answer as me. Okay, we're going to pull out an x, 2x plus 5. We're going to pull out a negative 7 and get 2x. And that makes this a positive 5, and that works out because our 2x plus 5 and 2x plus 5 match. So we're going to get x minus 7 and 2x plus 5. All right, I'm going to keep taking up more and more room. Don't get frustrated. Just move to a new piece of paper because this is taking up a lot of room just for this one problem. Okay, so now if we remember, we're going to have our fraction on top and our fraction on bottom. Our top fraction, sorry about that, our top fraction is this over here, 2x plus 5, 2x plus 5 right there. And our bottom part of the fraction is this x minus 7, 2x plus 5. Okay, so we're going to put those in right here. We're going to put 2x plus 5, 2x plus 5. Oops, yeah. And then on the bottom, we're going to put x minus 7 and 2x plus 5. And this is really exciting because you can see already that there's something on both the top and the bottom. What is it? Correct, 2x plus 5. So we can cancel out 2x plus 5 on both the top and bottom. And our final answer is going to be the other 2x plus 5 over x minus 7. Okay, and there's nothing else we can cancel out. A reminder, you can't cancel out that x on the top with the x on the bottom because the x on the top is attached to the 2 and attached to the plus 5, and the x on the bottom is attached to that minus 7. So we are done, and that is our final answer for number 4. All right, we are going to move on to our next one, which is number 10. Number 10 is also going to be a lot of work, so you might want to do this on a separate piece of paper, especially since there's like no room on here for you to do it, and I will be moving all over the paper. So, okay, so let's start with our problem. It's a fraction, 3x squared minus 48 over x squared minus x minus 20, divided by a second fraction, x squared minus x minus 12 over x squared minus 2x minus 15. The first thing we want to do with the division is change it to multiplication and flip the second fraction, okay? Keep, change, flip. So that's what we're going to do. Let's stick to red, that's fine. So we are going to write 3x squared minus 48 over x squared minus x minus 20. Let me zoom it. Oh. And then the second, x squared minus 2x minus 15. So we are going to change this to a multiplication sign and get x squared minus 2x minus 15. And put that on the top. And then on the bottom is x squared minus x minus 12. So we switched the 2 on the second one. Okay, so now we're going to zoom out. We're going to look at this. I know that this one, this top one, we can probably pull out a GCF and go from there because it's 2 terms and there's something that comes out on the top there. This bottom one over here is going to need a T-chart. I know that because it's 3 terms and it can't pull out a GCF. This one over here is going to need a T-chart because it's 3 terms. Okay. And this one right here is going to need a T-chart because it's 3 terms, okay? All right, so let's do our GCF first over here, okay? So the only thing we can pull out, if you want to pause and try to find the greatest common factor yourself, the greatest common factor is on this top here. We're looking at 3x squared minus 48. It is 3. Okay, and then we leave the x squared in there, and we divide 48 by 3, and I think we get 16. Okay, so that is all we can do. Oh no, that's not all we can do. What else can we do now? This 2 term has what? X squared and a perfect square root. So it has a difference of squares that we can do. So we have our 3 out here, don't forget our 3, and we have something that we can break this up into. X squared, the square root of x squared is x, and we need an x plus something and an x minus something, and it is going to be that square root of 16, which is 4. Okay, so make sure you remember to do that. Even though 3x squared minus 16 looked simplified, this is the most simplified so that we can start crossing stuff out. So, sorry, I didn't mean to square it. I'm going to put a circle around it because that is our top, that is what's going to go right here on the top of this fraction in just a second, okay? So we're going to move on to the bottom over here. We're going to do our T-chart for this one, x squared minus x minus 20, and we're going to put our a times c over here. So that's 1 times negative 20, and we get negative 20, and we have our negative 1 as our b, which is in the middle there. So you can take a second, you can pause, and you can try to figure out the numbers that multiply to negative 20 and add up to negative 1. One of them is going to be positive and one of them is going to be negative. Okay, the answer is negative 5 and 4, and negative 5 plus 4 gets you negative 1. Okay, so we have that. So we are going to change this You guys can do all the math on this. I'll do the math for this one, but on the other two I'm not going to show all the math like this, okay? But we're going to break this down. We're going to write x squared minus 5x plus 4x minus 20. Okay, we changed this whole thing, okay? And then we're going to group it. So we can pull out an x right here, and we get x minus 5. Then we can pull out a 4 right here, and we get x minus 5. Okay, so we get x plus 4 and x minus 5. All right, and that is our answer for the bottom value of this fraction. So far we've done the top value of this fraction and the bottom value of this fraction, and now we need to move on to this one over here. So x squared minus 2x minus 15, you see that in the red, we are going to go do that t-chart. So that's going to be negative 15 and negative 2, and we're going to get, you can pause and try and figure it out yourself, we're going to get negative 5 and 3. So we get negative 5 plus 3. So our math is going to be x squared minus 5x plus 3x minus 15. Okay, and then we're going to do the grouping, and you're going to get x minus, you're going to pull out an x, you're going to get x minus 5, and you're going to pull out a 3, you're going to get x minus 5, and you're going to get x plus 3 as your final answer, x minus 5. All right, so that is our final answer for the top on this fraction, and then we have this bottom fraction right here, x squared minus x minus 12. We're almost done. So negative 12 and negative 1, and you can pause and try and figure out those factors yourself, but it's going to be negative 4 and 3, because negative 4 plus 3 equals negative 1. So we're going to do x squared minus 4x plus 3x minus 12. We're going to group, okay? It's going to be x, take out an x, and you're going to get x minus 4. And then you're going to take out a 3. This is something we've done already 3 times in this problem, so you should be pretty good at it. And this becomes x plus 3 and minus 4. All right, so all that work was that we factored each part of this big fat fraction. So now we are going to rewrite it over here to the right a little bit. I'm going to change colors again, sorry. So if you can remember, we are going to use this right here, this for the bottom of that fraction, this for the top of the second fraction, and this for the bottom of the second fraction. Okay, so we have a new set of fractions, something times something. We're going to zoom in. The top is going to be 3 x plus 4, x minus 4. The bottom is going to be over here, our second star, x plus 4, x minus 5. X plus 4, x minus 5. Okay, and then our second fraction is going to be this right here on the top, x plus 3, x minus 5. And then this right here on the bottom, x plus 3, x minus 4. X plus 3, x minus 4. Okay, now we can start, x minus 4. Now we can start canceling some stuff out. So we are going to, anything on the top that has something on the bottom, it doesn't have to be in the same fraction, it just has to be on the top and the bottom. So this x minus 4 can go away with this x minus 4 because you're multiplying across. Okay, so anything on the top can cancel with anything on the bottom now. This x minus 5 and this x minus 5, this x plus 3 and this x plus 3, this x plus 4 and this x plus 4. And what do we have left? We have a 3 on the top, that's all, everything else canceled, and then everything on the bottom canceled. That doesn't mean the bottom is 0, that means the bottom is 1. So our final answer is just 3. So basically what we just found out is that this big fat equation right here simplifies to 3. Take a deep breath. That's our answer for number 10. 11 looks very similar to